So welcome to the Node.js Node API team meeting for April 21st, 2023. We'll follow our standard approach of going through the issues that we've tagged for milestone 11. But before we do that, does anybody have any, sorry, I just gotta find the mute. Has anybody got any announcements they'd like to share?
Yes. We released the first stable release for Node API headers, the version 1.0.0 that update the last changes from headers and added some explanation on the documentation about the versioning. And we have also the new version for Node.js API, the 6.1.0 that added some new things like NAPI type taggable class and other new tests to improve the coverage, some fixes on the documentation, and added the node underscore API underscore no underscore external underscore buffers underscore allowed macro to determine if the external buffer is supported or not, and introduced the new NAPI buffer new or copy method. So essentially, this is the what we introduced in this new release.
Great. Yeah, thanks for doing those two releases. And it's great to see like NAPI API headers at 1.0. I know there's some discussions that went into that was good, as well as the new version of Node API 6.1. Thanks for doing that release again.
Okay.
I also can have like a couple of announcements. Like with project Jason and me, we were working on Node API for .NET. We're now publishing NPM packages and we're publishing NuGet packages. Also, this week, I open source GSI implementation for Node API, open source project. So,
is that something you would add to the list of runtimes?
I guess so, yes. So GSI is a C++ API implemented by Meta to work inside of React Native as abstraction for different JavaScript engines.
Yeah.
So with this implementation about kind of GSI on top of Node API. So technically GSI will be able to work with any JavaScript engine or JavaScript runtime which implements Node API.
Yeah, I think it would be good if you could add it to that page where we have it as like another implementation.
Okay, I'll do the change and submit PR.
Okay. Would it be possible to just paste a little bit of info into, I'll put it in the chat, into the issue we have for what's new? Because I think that would be one that like, the goal is to get like people like Node Weekly looking at this info. And so like having like, hey, there's a new implementer, just became open source, here's the link to it. That's the kind of news I think would be good to share.
Yeah, it's not completely complete. Like it's still kind of, if you like,
understood.
Tests running and stuff, but
yeah,
definitely like it's a first step if you like.
No, I understand, but I think that's still like, hey, here's another one, and it's like it's an interesting enough one. Like if it's used in React Native, you know, it's not just your personal project where you know there's a couple users, right? So.
Yeah, it's not been used yet in React Native, so it's publishing was the first step, and I hope in the next couple of weeks to start to be used inside React Native for Windows, maybe in future React Native itself. Yeah.
That's my like. There's enough context there that I think that's like a newsworthy kind of thing. So throwing in a couple sentences and a few links would be good.
Okay, I'll do it right after the meeting.
Yeah, thanks. And I think Nick, I see Nick, you already put in the announcements into that one on the the Node
Yeah,
API
yeah,
wrappers and Node stuff.
I already added in the issue that you, yeah.
Yeah, so thanks for doing that. Okay, any other announcements people want to share before we move on? Okay, if not, I'm going to share my screen, share hopefully the right thing, which it looks like I did. This one, I think, as was mentioned last time, there's a few failures, so I probably need to go back and take a look at why we're failing and see what we need to do to unlock that. This one actually, maybe I didn't go to the labels. Here are the action milestones. Okay, so let's flip there. So I think drive towards full coverage. We don't have Jack today, but I think there's, last I looked, there was still a PR or two that could use some reviews to get landed. I don't know if there's anything else to talk about that.
I think as we talk about unit test, I believe Gabriel submitted a bunch of new unit tests towards main repo.
Right. Yeah, I think I've seen a few of those and approved a few. Is there any, like, is it that we should try and get more reviews and land them, or anything to discuss on those?
Sorry, I didn't look at them. Yeah, I just saw that they happened, but yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. And so adding test coverage is, in my opinion, is always a good thing. So it's good to see him adding a bunch there. Adding the list of non-C language bindings to Node.js. I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I have no news about this.
I think we did like, there is a list somewhere, right?
Yeah. Initially, I want to open a paragraph on Node core repo where I would like to explain that you could use the FFI of a programming language that to create your wrapper, no, written in that particular language. So yeah, I'm writing this and it's not really. I'm doing some research because I don't want to write so bad things. So yeah, it will take some time now.
Right. Okay.
It's because I want to do some research first.
Okay. Okay. No, that sounds good. I just forgotten the last thing was to have a link in the Node repo. So that's what you're still working on.
I think there is existing project. Are you referring to existing project using FFI through Node API?
Well, I think it's the list of, like, we have in here. Where is it?
What I want to explain is that almost every programming language has FFI and uses the C ABI, to that allow you to export program or library written in some particular language to be used from other programming language. So essentially, if you have a library written in example in Rust, you can export that library in like C library, and you can use that library from other programming language. So I won't explain this mechanism. It's the base to write your own wrapper in primary language that you like, essentially. So
yeah, what I'm saying, there is a project I think called Node API FFI, So it's possible, for example, to use JavaScript to call any C APIs.
Yeah. There is a project. The first implementation, if I well remember, was by Anna.
Yes. That's what I'm referring to.
I saw a new implementation, but it does not publish it now. It's only I don't remember what the name.
I posted the link in the chat. Yeah.
I think though that if I understand what Nicola said is that like that issue was to say, let's add a link to this section here where we've said like, hey, we're talking about doing it in C++ and C, but you can also do it in other languages. And here's a link to a list of projects that are out there to let you do that. But from what I understand, what Nicola just said is, in addition to that, which I think is a great idea, he wants to explain why these are possible. So basically, any language, most languages, you have a way where you could export functions or call functions which are C, which follow the C calling convention.
Yes. Yeah.
And this enables these things. And I think that's a great idea because it then also says to people, not only are there these other ones, but like I understand a little bit more about like if I want to create one on my own, you've now explained that part, and that's where you're doing the research. And so it doesn't have to do with FFI, like that FFI library, or there's actually even a PR in Node to add FFI. That's still kind of a different concept. It was more explaining maybe some similar concepts, but how you can use those to now support other languages because we have this nice C API.
What you understand what I mean. So now at this point I did some research, and I found that almost every programming language uses the C calling convention when you export a library to be called from another programming language. So this is the mechanism. I want to explain this mechanism in Node core. So adding a new section, and that's it. So I'm not ready now because I don't want to write some that is not right, because so some concept is should be explained in a very precise way. So I'm trying to do this.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Yeah, I was thinking, hey, it's just adding a link, but like what you describe is a much better idea. And I understand how that's a lot more work too, though, right? So okay.
It's not only a link. So because we have in Abyssable Node the link that we can share, but essentially I want to describe the mechanism that everybody could use to create its own wrapper.
Yeah, makes sense. I think like would be great if we can do something in Java. Probably Java is the language I know that you can't work directly on this C.
You can do that. You can do that. Yeah. Okay. I do the my initial choice was between Java and Go, because I want to try to do this with some programming language that has a garbage collection mechanism. Go has this mechanism, and you don't have you cannot pass structure function directly from Go to C, and vice versa. So you need some mechanism to accomplish at this task, and this has a cost in performance, for example. So yeah, but essentially you can do this even if in Java. It's too hard to implement. In my research, I think that Rust is the programming language that has at zero cost in performance about this, because you can export, you can build a library and in using the C calling convention, you don't need any particular mechanism to pass function between from Rust to C. So yeah, it's a journey about this all these things. But yeah, for now it's what I have is not ready to be. Yeah, I hope that in some weeks I end my research, and then I can create these pull requests.
Yeah, I think the difference is like Java doesn't expose, you can't expose functions with the C calling convention.
Because you don't have the control on the function. No, if you write the wrapper in Java, essentially you should pass Java function to like an API callback. No.
Yeah.
But this is a problem. You need an indirection system. Because the function is a property of the JVM. So JVM knows when the function could be destroyed, no? Could be. So and this is similar in Go, and in essentially in all programming language that has a garbage collector that manage the memory for you.
But it's even like in this case, is it the memory man? I mean, I could see that being complicating, but like in the Java case, I can see you could build a bridge. So like you could write a C program which talks Node API to Node and talks to Java through JNI, which is like their
yes. What I try to explain is that you need this bridge that is called as an indirection system between Java and C, and these add a layer, no? So yeah, you have you lose something in performance at the end. So
is Go the same? Like, can Go export C callable functions? Because like it creates a static binary.
You can export a C static library and a C shared library. But you can there are some strict rules about what you can pass from Go to C. So you cannot pass a Go function. You cannot pass a type, a Go type.
Okay.
So yeah, you need some bridge that could essentially wrap your a type. No, you have a
Yeah.
type, and in that type you can store your function, your Go function, for example, and
Yeah.
you can pass that that type that is a Go type, like a C void, no, that in Go is unsafe pointer, and then in the bridge function written in C, you can pass that pointer to an exported Go function. So it's it's an indirection system. So if you
Right.
want a Go function, you need to pass that function inside the type that is a pointer at that pointer, and pass that pointer to another function. So I hope to show you these in next week in an example, so it will be more clear.
Okay. No, yeah, it'll be interesting to see that, because like I understand why Java is definitely an interaction, but like it'd be good to see how Go is. It sounds like Go is similar.
Yeah, it's similar, and in all in general, in all languages has some rules about what you can handle between the boundary, you know, between the C and the language.
Right.
So and okay, these are these rules are part of the FFAI of that particular language. And yeah, you need to follow the rules, and yeah, for me, in the what I spend a lot of time to understand how to create an API callback and call these Go function. But yeah, at the end, when you solve this problem, you can create a general bridge to handle all the callback, because yeah, we have the callback for example, napid thread safe function. And you can at the end you can handle all these callback with the same code. But my part was to understand how to create create this callback, just how to pass a Go function, and then generalize the system. So if you want to create this kind of wrapper, all depends on what the programming language offers to you. Sometimes yeah, your life is easier Yeah, like a developer, and sometimes, yeah, you need to write some extra code to make all together. So this is what I learned in my experiments. And another new things that I learned using Go is that you lose the cross compilation. Because, for example, in Go, if you are in Windows or in macOS or in Linux, you can you can cross compile what you wrote for any supported platform. So yeah, you can write your code in macOS and create the binary for Linux. Or library for Linux. But when you link some C library, you lose the cross compilation. And I tried some experiment using the Ziglang compiler, and it seems that it works. So yeah, using the Zig compiler, you could cross-compile the native add-on for Node. In general, it's true using Go, but it would be interesting trying this to compile any native add-on written even if in C, it should work. So yeah, it's another part of my research.
I think part of what you're saying as well, like when we talked about FFI before, it seems like you're never going to be able to use FFI directly with like something written in Go or Java. Like you can't, there's no C function to just pull out of the binary, right?
Could you repeat?
Well, like, you know, so we talked about like those FFI libraries, which basically try and say, okay, well, I'm going to take an existing library, it exports some C functions. I'm just going to look up those exported functions and call them, right? And that works for like C, and I think it sounds like
yeah,
this is another, but it won't work
approach
for Go or Java or.
Yeah, this is another approach. So you essentially could you export your base code written in any programming language in like C shared library, and then you can use Node.js to call that library. So,
right. But that won't work. Like what you just, I don't know, reminded me or taught us is like, that's not going to work for Go, or that's not going to work for Java. Like any of these cases where we need to have a wrapper or a bridge.
I think that you have two choice. So the first is it's the first experiment that I did. You write your function in Go, for example, and export that function like C shared library. You can use that library in your node.js API, for example, code.
Right.
Yeah, and it's the same to import C library. So this is the first use. But what I try to investigate is if it's possible to create a wrapper like Node.js API written, for example, in Go or in other programming language, and how and what is the mechanism. So it's different. So
right, okay, yeah, it's like the calling, like being able to call back is probably you could export a C function, but the C function you export can't be making Node API calls because it needs to
Yeah.
call external C things. Is that where the challenge is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, understood a little bit better now, I think.
I hope to end my work as soon as possible, and yeah, show the code. I think that it will be more useful to see, and yeah, what I try to explain today. So
Okay.
yeah.
Sounds good. Okay. Enable debug testings. Let's look at, I don't have anything on that one. Let's look at stale issues. So these are both, I think, waiting on the PR that Vladimir you have, and I know I think you've gotten it into the state where it now just needs a review. Although you did have the I think there was one question is like, should we release this as part of Node API 9 or 8 or sorry 9 or 10? Right, was one question.
Well, I didn't. It was asked today. This question.
I think you asked this question, right? Like you were like,
Oh.
should we include? There was an issue somewhere about Node API 9. And I think you were like, should we include the feature bits part and the change in the behavior in 9, or should we put it in 10 because it's a bigger change? I don't have a strong opinion yet on that, but
if you remember, like feature bits, we don't use anymore, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So it's not
versions. I guess the question: do we want to? Yeah. The question is that do we want to kind of pass this Node API version inside of each module reports Node API version? Do we want this feature to be Node API 9 or not?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion yet, but I did notice that that's some discussion we should talk about, or at least
I did a couple of iterations on this PR this week. So first, I responded to feedback from Gabriel. And secondly, I respond to feedback from Chenjong. It kind of one API to add the linked binding. I added the version there as well. It ended up to be a little bit more complex because I need to pass this private data. And previously, private data was just pointed to callback function. It was all nice and clear. A callback function is static one. But in this one, it's a little bit messy because we need to pass two pieces of information, callback function and version. So I'm using this NAPI module struct to do that. But again, NAPI module struct was missing version information. So I had to change this reserved data a bit to reduce. So technically, my last change, which I've done yesterday to this PR, is bigger to address this concern. So please review it.
Okay. Okay. So basically it sounds like active reviews and discussion and changes. And so, yeah, go back.
And because it's, I remember like on one of my previous PR, Anna was commenting out about this linked binding.
Yeah.
I wonder if she needs to look at it as well.
Okay.
PR.
Yeah, would be good. Okay. So that's where those ones are. This one, so I think we just have like a good next step for Node add-on examples. And I think that Gabriel might have been looking at something there, but I don't have anything to discuss. And then this one, which I think is still just waiting on the sample. So
yeah, I still didn't do progress there.
So this one, I think Kevin's pushing that forward. It's not here, so we'll just leave that there. So let's take a look. I think getting contacts for each of the runtimes. I don't know, Chenzong, if you have anything new. We did discuss it a bit last week, so I don't know if there's anything more to discuss. I did see and commented on your PR to add the documentation, which I think was one of the next steps, right?
Yeah, right. So we have a documentation on the maintaining the team, and currently we didn't put a strong constraints on how a person whether a person is capable of joining the team. It's simply that the person has a public Node API implementation available, and they are a maintainer of the implementation. That's all we need to have a person to join the team.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So yeah. So please comment there if you have any concerns on the on this requirement. And also notably, we have a offboarding process so that we can move persons that no longer actively working on a Node API implementation from the team, so that we can keep the team effective and maintainable. Yeah, that's the 2 points of the document.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. It looks like Nicholas taking a look. That's great. If anybody else wants to take a look, and we can get the comments addressed and get that landed pretty good. So that's good. Progress on that one. We talked about what's new. I think we talked about the scorecard. So yeah, so let's just flip over to issues. Pull requests. I see. Really, this is maybe the new one. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I think it's mostly we just need to take a look at and related to some of our other discussions. So I think we just need to look at and land. And I don't really see anything new in terms of issues. Any issues or things that people want to call out on the Node API side, Node add-on API side before we move over to the core repo? Okay, let's flip over there. I have a feeling I'm not getting that right. The BLE. And okay, got the wrong.
I think it's labeled. Yeah, right.
Right. One's one's a Canadian spelling, which is not what they use. So that's why I have two that I don't know. So I think Vladimir, you'd mentioned there were some tests, additional tests. This is some of the ones showing up at the top. If we can just review and get those landed, I think that would be good.
Yeah,
this one's worth mentioning. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was talking about the one of the test PR is waiting for the CI process. So once the CI is green, we can land the the promised one.
Okay, so this one just it's a matter of looking to see if the failures are they've all passed, so that one can actually land.
Yeah. Okay. Seems like we have new constraints, so maybe Gabriel need to update the commit message.
Right. Is this, let's see. Well, yeah, this is,
it's strange. I suppose this commit message is up to our standard, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting. So I'd seen some discussion. So there it was enabled, and I think the idea is that, like, say if one of us goes to land this as a collaborator, this makes sense when we're landing it. But we add the PR URL as part of the data when we go to land that. So it's showing up in the UI seems a little funny, right? I'm gonna paste this in I don't know where the discussion was happening, but I'm gonna paste it in there. Maybe was it here? I'm gonna say Okay, I'm just gonna, I pasted it in the TSC channel to say, is that intended to be red? Like, I think it makes sense as a rule, but like for it to show up red in our thing here, it may not matter. Like if you request the add the label for the CI to land it, it may still go ahead and work. Similarly, if we land it manually, but so I would say I don't think this should make us fail to land. Like we should still be able to go and manually land this, and actually even just adding the request land tags may still work anyway, because this seems like an unintentional thing.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Go ahead.
Yeah, back to the documentation offer. I think there. Yeah, I'm not sure how they. I'm actually I didn't quite get the exact point of their offer, but I think they are interested in contributing the documentation. So correct me if I'm wrong. And they also mentioned that they are working on a memory leak testing with Valgrind. So I think Kevin is working on this too. So
Yep.
Maybe we can direct them to the Kevin's doc so that
Yep.
if they have any suggestions, they can comment on Kevin's work.
Yeah, I think your response is spot on. It's like, yeah, we're always very happy to have more documentation. Just depends on what it is in terms of whether it'll fit into the different repos and stuff.
Yeah, another point is that their documentation seems like a guidance to me, which
Right.
is not exactly what we are doing in the Node add-on API repo, since the
Yep.
documentation in Node add-on API repo is more about the API references rather than guidance on how to write a C++ add-on. So I would like to bring this up is that what should we what are our guidelines on managing the documentation that are not API references and
Right.
that are not exactly this in the scope of Node add-on API repo, something like how you write C++ JS bridge and how they are working on and the syntaxes like they mentioned in the issue. So I'm thinking that this guideline can be linked in the API stable node, since we have a checklist of media on how to write API add-ons. Like I
Right, you're saying
mentioned in my
we
comment.
already have a list somewhere?
You can check in my comment. I have
Right.
a link to it.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the main thing to figure out is like, okay, like if we curate a list, then it's like we sort of like, hey, we think these ones are good. If we let just everybody like PR things in, then like, do we have to review them before we let them in? But I think like the general approach of having links to external stuff is probably better than trying to pull it all into our own repos, because that can end up being pretty big. And like you said, like, there could be two things that have different opinions, right? And maybe it's good to have links to both of those things, but it'd be hard to like pull that all into the same repo. So yeah, maybe your suggestion of like having it in here under media and available resources could be good.
Yeah.
And along with
that would be great.
we don't necessarily endorse any of these, but these are some resources that are available where you can go and read to make your own opinion.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. Okay, and that looks like there isn't anything else new. Any other ones here that we should pull out and discuss? If not, then, well, thanks for everybody's time, and it's great chatting with you all every week, and we'll see you in GitHub and next time.
Good. See you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.